Yeah, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second session of Excel hosted by EduManta. So we learned a study about data cleaning. Today we are going to start with data visualization, and for that, let me pull up the data sheet. Yeah, so I hope it is visible to everyone. Yeah, so let's begin now. And here is the data sheet, which is basically a video game sales data, and we are going to work on it, and will see that how pivot pivot table is going to help us. Pivot table is going to help us in this case to see that what is the niche. Somebody's voice is on. Can you please mute it? Yeah, so basically I was telling that today we are going to learn about pivot table. Before understanding and the working of pivot table, what we need to do is understand the data. And after understanding data, we need to ask relevant question, and that question can help us to work on pivot, because till we don't have a valid question that what we want to look for. Okay, uh, till then the pivot table is of no use. For example, if there is a very minor difference between statistic and machine learning. For example, if I'm going to ask you that which month of the year gives maximum sales, so to answer this question, what we need is data, and we have to collect the data or purchase the data, and that will incur some cost. So when we talk about the statistics, data is something which we require, and that is we are going to pay for it, or will incur some expense by for collecting the data. But in machine learning, what happened, we ask the question. Here the question is actually uh, you know uh, costly, because you already have the data, and from that data you have to make prediction that will answer your questions. So I hope that you understand the difference between machine learning and statistics. So here we have the data, and we need to ask relevant questions so that we can use pivot table to get those answers. Though here we are not going to make any prediction, but we are just going to see what exactly data is telling us. So let's study the data now. So the first columns tell us about the name of all video games that have been released throughout the years. There are many years from 1985 to 2020, or some maybe even more years there. So the first column contains the names of all the games, the second on which platform they are being played, in the third the year of release, in the fourth column there is genre, and uh, in fifth column there is publisher, then North America sales, Europe sales, Japan, and then other sales, and then global sales. That is the summation of all these will give us global sales. Now there's critic score, and then users code, and then other things like rating, developer. So all these information given in the data. So first let make this data quite clear so that it is visible to each one of us. We're just going to use few of the commands which we learned yesterday. We are just going to increase the width so that we can see it better. Yeah, I hope it is now visible to every one of us. Yeah, so now let's see that there is any duplicate data in this or not. Quickly, within data we have to remove duplicates and select check all the columns, and then okay. In case of any doubt, you can ask me by unmuting your call. Yeah, so
Instead of dragging the data, can't we use Alt ACA just to
Sorry.
expand the data instead of dragging the cells?
Yeah,
Can't we
yeah,
use Alt CA?
yeah. We can use that. That's not an issue. Okay. So see, there are actually many commands, whichever I am familiar with. We discussed about it yesterday also. So whichever I am familiar with and I'm more used to, I do that. Okay. So yeah, definitely you can use other commands as well. There are many commands which you can use. Okay, so now as we are thorough with the data, what data available with us, now it's time to, we also seen that no duplicate data are there. Let's check it for the blanks, that if there is any blank row or column, because if there is single row or column blank uh, in the pivot table, then it will be not able to produce any pivot table. So let's see if there's some blank. So we have already done all these things, how to check in yesterday's session. This is a big data, so that's why it's taking a bit of time. Yeah. So basically, we can see that there is no completely empty row or column. Yeah, we have few cells there which are empty. So we are just going to edit those columns which we actually need for analysis. For example, I want to use user's code. So I will just edit this column and make sure that there is no blank cells in this. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's either fill all the blank cells with 0 and also see if there's some other text form in this particular. So here we can see that there's a text also which can create problem in pivot table. Okay, so let's replace this text form and as well as this blank and replace both with zeros. Zero means there is no rating available for corresponding games by the users. So let's first replace the text. So we have to do find and replace in this. So the text is TBD and we are going to replace it with 0. So we are just going to press replace all and 24, 25 replacements are there. We have replaced 2425 data points. After that, we need to fill all the blanks with 0. So how we are going to do that? Again, the same. We will go to special, select blank for this particular column. And here we are getting first blank to put input. We put input as 0 and then we will press Control plus enter. So it will replace all the blank cells with 0. You can see that, right? So now I think this column is okay because I have to use it in my session. So I just remove all the blank cells in this particular cell column. Now let's ask question that what are the question that we are going to look for in pivot table. For example, if I want to look for genre. So in genre, there are different subcategory, like few games related to some few games are related to different categories such as sports, platform, racing, role playing, puzzles. So these are different categories of games, right? So we want to see that which category have the most sales. Okay, so let's try to build a pivot table over here. How we can do that? We'll go to insert. So here we can see two options, recommended pivot table. So if I go into this, the Excel itself will provide us some ready-made tables. If you feel that any of them are going to fulfill your needs, you can directly select from here. But we are just going to make table from the scratch. So we are not going to check the recommended table. We are just going to select the new pivot table and the whole data set is getting selected. We'll select new worksheet so that our pivot table will appear on the next worksheet. and then okay. So now here we are for with pivot table. Yeah, so now here we can see that all the columns names are there. Okay, so when we create pivot table, we have to make sure that each column have a header. Okay, so in that case, we will be able to get the headers name for all column over here. Now what we have to do is a very simple thing. We have to just drag. We don't have to apply any formula. We don't have to apply any operation, subtraction, multiplication. Everything is performed by this pivot table itself. I was asking that let's look into the genre, that how much sale it is producing. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this genre in here. So here we can see that under row we are just pulling this genre, and here we are getting different genre which are already there in our data sheet. So there are approximately, I think, 13 or 14 categories of game. Now we are going to see that what categories are actually producing highest sale. So we can see either the global sale, or we can see North America, Europe, Japan, or other part of world sales. I'm just going to look for right now, say North America sale. I'm just going to pull it here. Yeah. So here is the sales amount figure. So for example, if we come back to data, here is sport. Here is also sports. So they're actually adding up all the values of each and every sports in this particular column. So that's how we actually got this sum of all sales for the games that falls under action category. In the same way, adventure. So we can see here that from the table itself that approximately we have the highest sale for action, right? Suppose if I want to see that number of games for each category, so how we are going to see that? So we can just change the value field. So here under sum of sales, we'll click this small arrow, and then we will go to value field setting, and from here we can do whatever we want. We have some option: count, average, max, min, product. So actually right now I'm looking for count, so I will just change it to count. So this will be the number of games that falls under action category, number of games that will fall under adventure category. So these are the numbers of games that falls under different category. Okay, so we have seen that how number amount is there. To better analyze the data, or actually reaching the conclusion that which category is actually making the highest sale per game, what we need to do, we can actually calculate the average, that is total amount for action category. Let me pull that. I'm just going to pull it same. So here it is the sum. So they are giving the summation of the amount of all action adventure categories. So now if I'm going to divide this sales amount by this number of games, we are going to get average. But we, as I told you, we don't need any operation to perform. Everything will be performed by pivot table only. So either we can change the value, field value here, or let's pull another value for this. So here we can just convert this in value field into average. The highest average sales for, I think this is the highest. So platform games is actually producing highest sales. Yeah, highest sales per game. So we can see that all in graphs as well. So let's try to pull up graphs one by one. So let's first pull the graph for sales. I'm just going to pull graphs one by one, not once for all the row. That's why I deleted it. So from here, insert, and then I'm going to pull this particular graph. So we can see the number of counts, right? So here we can see that action games have the highest number of games, and after that sports have the highest number of games, In the same way, you can see the others categories. So we can actually go for, okay, action number of games are maximum. So either we can go with more number of game when we talk about releasing a new game. If we want to see it in terms of amount, then we need to go to sum, and then we can see that, action, sports, shooter, all these are giving highest amount of sales, generating highest amount of sales. Now let's look at the same thing from the average point of view. So here we can see that those games actually which are not categorized, or they haven't categorized as any genre, so they are actually getting the highest revenue. I don't know what reason can be there, but yeah, if we exclude this category, then we can see that platform games are able to generate highest revenue per game, right? After that, shooter game is able to generate the highest revenue. This is the second, if we talk about in terms of categories. Right? So we can see that how pivot table and graph together is able to convey so much about the data, right? So we can also go for some other questions. Let's get back to data. So I was telling that I will use the user's code. So now suppose I want, to get a graph in such a way that will tell us that what range of score provided by the user are actually producing highest sale, whether it is between 0 or 1. For example, some if those games are generating high sales which have rating of 0 or 1, or those games are generating high sales which have user rating of between 9 and 10, right? So we can check that also. Let's see how we will use that in pivot table. So here we are getting this data, right? Remember, 0 is for those data which don't have any entry. We replace those with 0, and rest there are ratings. But these are very much discrete. They are broken down into fractions also, and they're separate. But we need to put it into range. So how we are going to group it into range? Let's see. Just right click on any data point, and then there's a group. So we are going to start from 0, and the rating will go up till 10. So just replace it with 10, and each will each have a class interval of 1. So 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, this way. So we are going to put class interval 1, and then OK. So now here we are getting this sorted in this way. Now we need to add another column to this of sales. So let's take North America sales only, or let's take global sales this time. So this is the global sale. So we can see that those games that actually rated between 0.0 to 1 have, you know created highest sales, but that may be because those are the games which have, means they have the highest in number, right? So to get the actual figure, again we can look for the average, that whether average is high or low for which category. Let's replace it with average. Okay, so here we have the average. So we can see that earlier, though the highest sale was shown in 0 to 1 category, but actual highest sales are in this category, 9 to 10. Of course, user are rating it as the highest, so definitely they are going to buy more of the highest rating game. So this is how it's actually work. Okay, so this is one of the basic use of pivot. There are other use also. I'm going to introduce you to that. So now we have till now used only rows and values. There are others also like filter. So now I'm going to introduce filter. So suppose I just ask you, let me delete these things, that, yeah. So suppose I'm going to ask you that which category of games are more prevalent in particular year, say for 1985, there is some other categories of game that must be prevalent at that point of time, and in 2015 there may be some other category of game that is prevalent in this particular year. So we are going to see it year wise. So we are going to put year of release in the filter of pie chart format. So here under insert we can get the pie chart. So here we can see, let's add the data labels in this. So we can actually see over here what are the categories of game that are more prevalent. So we can see that action game are more prevalent when we compare for all the years from all the data. Now we are going to see it year wise. So we have applied this filter over here. So we are just going to open this filter and just say that we are going to check it for 1985. So for 1985, this particular section, I think platform it is, platform game are more prevalent in this particular year, right? Let's proceed. Maybe in 1992. So here we can see that maximum is this one, fighting games, right? Now let's move to some recent year, say 2014. So in 2014, we can see that action games are more preferred by the. So we are able to track the taste and preference changing over time. Okay, so now maybe more gaming company would be preferring to produce, this kind of action game. What machine learning will do over here, they will try to analyze the trend, and maybe after 10 years which kind of taste and preference these consumer will have, the company will keep working on the games that will be more useful in say 5 to 10 years from now. That is the work of machine learning. But from data, what we are doing right now is statistic. We are just studying the data. We are not doing any prediction, we are not doing any trend analysis, right? So I hope it is clear to you. We also see that how this table can help, pie chart can help us. We can also use, in fact, better view, we can use the bar chart. Let's do that. So here we can see that action game are more prevalent in year 2018. Talking about year 2019, 94. Platform games are more prevalent, right? And if we are going to see for all from the beginning till now, so we have to just select all and okay. So in this way we can see that action game and sports are the kind of game which are more prevalent when we see all the data points which is available in our data set. Okay, so I hope it is clear to all of you. Any confusion up till here? You can unmute and ask me. Okay, so I think that it is clear to all of you. So let's proceed from here now. Okay, there are other things which we can do, um, that are, for example, if I'm just going to go in insert section and this particular, so we have seen that how to use this particular bar chart. So if we want to see number charts, then we can line chart, then we can use that also. But yeah, for sales or other kind of, we generally use the bar chart. That's the standard form we use. But yeah, I'm just showing you that how line chart can also be be there for these kind of data. Basically line chart we use when we looks for return over the period of time, maybe a return on particular share. So in that case we prefer line charts. But in sales or other kind of transactional data, we actually use bar chart. In many other cases we also use pie chart. Then there are other kind of graphs also, pie chart. This is called scatter graph. So if I ask you a question that for example I use the this user score column. So if I'm going to ask you that what is the relation between user score and the total sales, that is a question of regression, and that is a part of statistic. And actually this regression analysis help us to make prediction as well. So I'm just going it to do it, run a regression between the user score and the sales. So I was looking for global sale, and in row column I want user score, and I want this to be ungrouped because last time I grouped it, so it's giving in range. Now I will just ungroup it, so we will have different discrete value. So now I want to run regression for them, but I'm not going to run regression, but I'm just going to pull out regression graph, the scatter graph. Okay, sorry. Yeah, we need to copy these values to somewhere else because in pivot table we cannot exactly perform regression graphs. Yeah, so suppose I'm just going to pull it here, and now I will perform regression on this, or just pull out regression graph on this. In any case of any doubt, you can unmute and ask questions. Okay, so we can see here that the graph that show the relationship between the yeah, so relationship between the score, user score, and the sales amount. We can see that as initially the score is going high, up till 8 the sales went highest, but after you know uh, when there's higher sales, I mean higher score above 8, then again we can see the sales coming down. Okay, but we can also produce a graph from it, just a second. So here quick layout, and this here we can see a line that's called good fit line. All these terms I'm using are from statistics. So this is a good fit line that actually help us to predict. So if I want the equation for this, that also can be generated from the same place. So here we can see a small graph, small equation over here. Let me pull it out from this. Okay, so here we can see, I'm not going to explain you that what this actually signifies because that is not part of this thing. But yeah, if you are familiar with these equation, this r square, that's actually say how best fit the line is. So it's 0.47. It means that this line actually do not perfectly predict the data model. So we actually cannot make a data model based on this prediction, because we can see that the data is not consistent. They are not showing a normal distribution kind of distribution. But I just don't want to discuss much of statistic over here because that we are going to discuss in our fourth session. So I hope then you will be able to understand what is statistical term right now I'm using. uh, so this is how we actually work in pivot table and help us to create tables that will be or that can be used for making models or can be used for producing graphs. So I hope pivot table is clear to everyone. Any confusion till here? If there's anything which you are not able to understand and want me to repeat, I will definitely do that. Okay, so we are done with the pivot table. It's time to go to our bonus function, which I promised everyone. And yesterday we actually looked VLOOKUP. Today what we are going to look HLOOKUP as well as combination of VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Okay, so here is something which I prepared. For example, this is the subjects and these are the names of a student, and corresponding intersection of each name and subject you can find a number. For example, for Sanket, English score marks is 65. Okay, so suppose if I select English over here, so I'm getting 65. Suppose I want to look for Rahul marks, so I'm just going to change the name to Rahul, and which subject, say Hindi, I want to look, all total mark of Rahul I want to look for. So 472 out of 500 he was able to score. So this is actually I'm able to do by combination of VLOOKUP as well as HLOOKUP. So we'll see how I'm going to do it. So yeah, this is the same data set. First, let's see that how HLOOKUP is going to work. So in VLOOKUP, what we used to do, we used to see the vertical reference. So this was the vertical reference cells we use in VLOOKUP. Whereas in HLOOKUP, we are going to use horizontal reference, right? So let's first look HLOOKUP function. It's going to use in a similar way. So suppose I want to look for the value for the marks of SST for say Mohit. Okay, so let me put H lookup. Lookup value is SST. Table, again we are going to select the entire table. Row index. So Mohit is in row 5. So again I will put 5 here and then exact match and then enter. So 93 is the marks for Mohit in SST, right? See here, right? Now, if I want to say C for Hindi, so I have to put over here Hindi. So I will get Hindi, but I'm able to produce only for Mohit. If I want to change the name, then I have to change the reference cell over here. So suppose I want to see for Rahul, then it should be replaced with 7. Enter, so I will get Rahul Hindi 93, right? So now I'm going to produce the same kind of function which I have produced here, where I can change both and also get the list to do that. So first, let's create the list. So how we will create the list? We'll go to data. Under data, we are going to data validation. Under data validation, we will, by default, there is any value, but I'm going to select list, and from the list, first I'm going to create the list for name. So I will select this particular range and then OK. So I will be having this filter button over here. From here I can select any name. Now I'm going to select make the list of subjects in the same way. Data validation, again list. Okay, so just say that, yeah, so we actually need to insert one row over here. I will explain you why. I will put some value 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, I will explain you why I put it over there. Let me put the function. So we will start with VLOOKUP. So the value I want to look for VLOOKUP will be the name. So I'm just going to select the name input. After that, I'm going to select the table. So I'm going to select the entire table. Now what I need a reference number, which row or column, sorry, which column I have to look into, whether it is column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I'm going to put say 6 here, that will return me marks for Ankita. In particular, sixth is which, yeah, Hindi. So I'm going to get outputs as 76, right? So that is actually not my purpose. I want to get for any subject, not only for Hindi. So instead of this, I'm going to use here HLOOKUP, and I want HLOOKUP to give me output as a number that will actually going to reflect the number for the column. So that's why. So just see how I'm going to apply that. So HLOOKUP, value I want to look for subject from here, and lookup is now I'm going to select table. So for table, I'm just going to select these two row. Okay. So one will be the subject, another will be the number. Okay. And for reference number, I'm going to put second row because first row is the name itself. Second row is the number for the columns. And then again, I am going to put exact match, enter exact max for the VLOOKUP and enter. So now I'm getting 67. So yeah, so this value we are getting. If we are going to change the name, say so Mohit English is getting 96, and for example I want to see for science, so it's 98. So I hope it is clear that how I created it. If any doubt you can ask me. So this was the bonus function for today. Any confusion till here? Well, so I hope things are clear till here. If you want me to repeat something, any function which I used, otherwise you will get uh, the sheet, exercise sheet by tomorrow afternoon, and you can practice it. And if you want or you have any doubt, you can ask me tomorrow also at the beginning of the session. So I think we should stop for today now. We'll catch you tomorrow at the same time.